I just say 4 ups, 3 ins, 2 outs, and 1 down. To dig in and to buy in. I thought we changed to another word, is it? Yeah, we'll show you how we have changed it. Yeah? But never to give in. Never to give in to pressure, give in to temptations. All right? I'll explain that later on, especially for the reporters. Don't have to take notes now. Yeah? Then the 2 outs is to reach out and to source out. Okay? But not to sell out. Okay? Now, finally, cost down, but not to show down. Show down means confrontation. Okay? And this is applicable to macro meaning the country as a whole, or Penang as a whole, as well as to firms, to your own firm. If you apply this 4-3-2-1 formula, in my opinion, but I must apologize. I've never been in business. I don't do business. But I observe people doing business, okay? And I read about how people do business. But more importantly, actually, I will observe through my actual interaction in promoting investment and see what are their concerns, how do they go about doing it, how do they find new areas of focus and all that. So what are the 4 ups? Okay, is to move up the value chain, okay, and to climb up the technology ladder or tech ladder, all right, and then to link up with each other or to link up with others, okay, with many others, okay, and also to fire up our spirits, okay. Now let me try to explain one by one very quickly. To move up the value chain, meaning that, for example, in manufacturing, instead of the old assembly and test, okay, of course assembly and test has also moved up because through automation, in fact the whole curve actually moved up, all right, into higher efficiency, higher productivity, quality and all that, all right. So, but it is not enough because that represents the lowest in terms of value add. You must move up into key parts production, into R&D, into design, into prototyping. Okay, so you must move, beyond and before production, right? Then the post-production process of sales and after-sales services, involving logistics, involving supply chain, is extremely challenging, very challenging, and it's very complicated, right? And it took us quite a while. Actually, it was in the 90s that we really built up our logistics, for example. This export through the 1,000 metric tons, all right? By 2,000 metric tons, okay? So increase of almost 10 times, okay, within a short span of about 17 years, okay? So that's quite a lot. You will see either DHL, FedEx, or even on the tarmac or about to take off or landing, okay? So that shows that the volume of export, KLIA is the biggest. It's actually higher because Intel, $10,000, okay? And then when you talk about Dell computer moving, they don't say. But take a guess. How many computers can you pack into one 747? Okay? Any idea? So we have to keep on moving up. Keep on moving up. There's always a threat. There's always a threat. Now I can tell you. In year 2002, Dell was contemplating moving everything to where? To Shanghai. Okay? For the simple reason, there are 2 main reasons. Because by that time, a lot of Taiwan companies have moved to Shanghai, supplying all the computer base and components. Okay? Then, from Shanghai to the US, the distance is much nearer than Penang to US. Okay? So we met a very severe threat, immediate threat. So we had to work out, myself, I had to go to see the PM at that time and to see a lot of people and say, how do we drive down the cost? Okay? How do we offer them a good deal, right? Through MAS cargo, right? To give them special deal so that transportation cost is reduced, number one. Number two is within the company, the factory of Dell, how to drive the cost down. Okay? So that within 5 years, we are cheaper than China. Not at that time. At that time, China was still cheaper than us. Right? But we say within 5 years, but we actually achieved within 3 years. We became cheaper than China in terms of total cost compared to Shanghai. You see, because Shanghai now actually is even more expensive than Singapore, Alright? Okay? If you in certain areas of Shanghai. Okay? So we are talking about competing against, we're just running against the time all the time. Alright? So we have to do all that. So that's moving up the value chain. Now, how have you been doing? I'll show you just in terms of until the 07, we have actually some figures of the first quarter of 08, which I'll show you later on. But we have done actually very well. Because if we look at capital investment per employee, the way we calculate this is we calculate on new investment approved. Either new investment or reinvestment, meaning additional investment approved by MITA. And they always give us a figure because every time there's an investment coming in, we always ask, how many jobs are you going to create in terms of engineers, in terms of operators? Okay? So this is practically investment per employee or per job created. A new job created. So in the 80s, we're talking about 30,000 ringgit per job. Okay? By the 90s, we're talking 75. By the year 2000, we're talking about almost 300,000 ringgit per job. Okay? Investment to job. And then by 07, we're talking about 500 over 1,000, 500,000 investment per job. So what it shows is that it's more capital intensive. Okay? And also a lot of high tech and skills involved per job. Okay, and this is a very interesting graph which nobody looked at. But 2 years ago, I started calculating and tracking it as an indicator, and a very important indicator. Okay, so now what do? We move up the value chain. I give example in manufacturing. You go into R&D. You go into design, innovations, in fact, new ways of doing things. And this is done by Intel, Motorola, and locally by companies like Penang, Vitrox, And all these are involved all in, thinking about new ways, new products, okay? And that's moving up the value chain. But you can actually apply it to other sectors of the economy. So I was talking about manufacturing, but you can apply it to every sector. Right? For example, tourism. Tourism is no longer just sightseeing, right? Of course, our food very attractive. People get addicted to it like opium. I eat our char kway teow, they must come back every year. All right? I don't know what they put in the char kway teow lah. But that alone is not enough. You have to move up high value. So we're talking about medical tourism, talking about MICE, which is meetings, incentives, traveling, convention, exhibition. Yeah. For example, this week we just had a big exhibition called NetCon, which we brought in a few years ago. Right? It's for the electronics. Yeah. And these are very high value kind of activities. Cultural tourism, heritage. Okay, it's really also high value because we're talking about the kind of tourists that will come, that appreciate our heritage, and they will spend a lot more. Okay, and then we can attract a lot more tourists. So we are now in the pipeline. Yeah, we're in the pipeline.